You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
This man is busy 7 days a week, 24/7, 365. My homie, Killer Kev. Kev, what's going on tonight?
What is going on, sir?
Nothing much, man. I had a great weekend. A great weekend of no sleep. Like I was telling you before we got on the air. I think I got about 6 hours total of sleep, with a lot of driving and stuff. Had some great shows. Reconnected with some great people, worked for some great companies and everything. Just had a good time. What about you?
Oh, I got to work a festival up in Indiana this weekend, and it was a whole lot of nothing. I mean, I don't think I've been to an event that I'd say is a whole lot of nothing until this last weekend. I showed up Friday. Yeah, showed up on Friday. And it was kind of okay, except where they stuck me in my event was on the backside of a school, and there was nobody going around the school to go seeing what was going on the backside, so it was pretty boring. And Saturday when I get there, I think there was maybe a dozen, maybe 2 dozen people there the whole day.
That's it? Just a dozen people?
I mean, like at any given time. I mean, it was like a very low-key affair. The event started on Thursday, continued on Friday. Saturday morning where there was a parade, and I guess there was a crowd there for the parade going past the school. And then after that, it was done.
Well, that doesn't sound too interesting. I mean,
no, it wasn't. It really.
Did you still get paid?
Yeah, I'll still get paid. I didn't make anywhere near the money I was hoping to. So, Killer Kev is officially hitting the job boards again. Because we ain't putting up with this all summer, that's for sure. So, if anybody needs a product out there promoted, if you need somebody to go out there in the community to work your events, to work your trade shows, if you've got something that you want to promote at a wrestling show, hint, need somebody to work your table, Killer Kev is available for a cut.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you, man, you work so much. Do you ever have, a day off?
I try not to. I get scared. I get lonely on days off. Bad things start going through my head. I'll wake up at, 11 o'clock in the morning. I'll be like, is this it? Is this the end of the world? Lord, is my time finally come?
Yeah, I don't believe that. I feel the same way. A lot of times I find myself doing stuff just to make sure that I have something to do, which is probably why, the majority of the time I'm going. I think I live life in a perpetual state of sleep deprivation. I realized a long time ago that wrestling doesn't run on an Eastern Standard Time. So therefore, if I wanted to get the bookings and travel all over the place, I had to be up and doing business with these promoters on the other side of the country, and eventually on the other side of the world, because I still do, even though, I haven't made any international debuts yet, but I will this summer. I still contact companies around the world, and so therefore, if I wanted to do business with these people, I had to be up when they're up. And a lot of times, especially, in Japan and stuff, when the majority of Americans are asleep, it's the middle of their business day. So you find yourself, in this business, not getting any sleep whatsoever.
Yep, absolutely. You gotta stay on the ball, you gotta hustle, you gotta be available when the promoters and the bookers need you.
Exactly. Now talk about hustling, man. Kev, we both know that for the past, 3-4 weeks, been doing this podcast. This is our baby. This is my baby, the Wrestling Nerdcast. And of course I've been doing, guest hosting on Thursday night AMP because there's so much going on in New Japan Pro Wrestling. I know that, this week and stuff, I'm going to be a guest again. I'm coming on the show again this week to talk about Road to Dominion and the Dominion pay-per-views, or whatever you want to call it, the shows. But without going into detail, I will say that overall I enjoyed Dominion a lot better than I enjoyed Wrestle Kingdom 11, which is surprising because Wrestle Kingdom 11, in my opinion, was probably the best booked card from beginning to end that I had ever seen, whether live or on TV.
Yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to see the show yet, but I did hear it was really good.
Yeah, there was a lot. Yeah, it was, in my opinion, it was very good. as a student of wrestling, I consider myself a student of wrestling and stuff. I thought the card in every match was booked perfectly. I definitely feel like the last 3 matches were booked about as perfectly as possible. There's so many different options as far as storylines that the powers that be at New Japan Pro Wrestling can go with each match, with each one of the participants in each one of those I'm not going to say 3, the last 4 matches, because you had the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title, then you had the Never Openweight title, then you had the Intercontinental title, and then you had the IWGP Heavyweight World title. Each one of each one of those 8 gentlemen that was in those 4 matches, man, like these storylines that can be that the possible storylines that they can go to from this point on is just amazing. Like, I can't wait to see what they're going to do when New Japan comes to LA, and of course they got the G1 Climax tournament coming up, in like a month's time. Like, I'm super excited for professional, especially for New Japan right now.
You need to get your ass out to LA and go see that in person.
Yeah, I wish I could, man. I was talking to my wife because I was rewatching Dominion, because it was so good, man. I feel like I missed something. And the first time you watch something, you're just watching it, and you're just being a fan, and that's just me. This is how I do it, Kev. Whenever I'm watching like a pay-per-view, or whatever, or a show, like I try to just watch it as a fan. I don't try to think about, well, this spot got blown and that spot got blown, and I would have done this and I would have done that. Like, I just watch it the first time as a fan. Just so I can enjoy the show. And then I usually find myself like a day or 2 later going back and rewatching the entire show as a wrestler, and as a student of wrestling and stuff, and trying to figure out, what they did, what they could have done, what I would have done in that situation, and look for things that I might have missed. And so I was watching it today with my kids because being the great dad that I am, I've got them hooked with New Japan Wrestling now. And my wife came in and she was like, "Hey, did they ever come to America?" And I was like, "Who, New Japan?" And she was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Not really. They used to have a dojo in LA, and they're talking about opening one again." I was like, a lot of their stars come to America for different companies. But I was like, New Japan as a company as a whole has never really came to America in like the past 5-10 years. I was like, but they're coming soon. They're coming in like July. And so she's like, "Oh, well, if they're coming to America," she's like, "well, maybe I can just get you some tickets for the show. Where are they coming to?" And I was like, "LA." And she was like, "Oh, I wouldn't cancel your subscription if I were you then." And I was like,
"Really?"
So let me, huh?
I said, "Really?"
Oh, yeah. Well, that's because she's from Cali. My wife is originally from Southern California and stuff, and so she's just trying to get me to visit SoCal for the longest time. And of course, being a Southern guy, I'm not real big on earthquakes. I know that California doesn't have earthquakes all the time, but I feel like it would be just my luck that I go to California and they have the big one, So I'm like really afraid to go to California just because, I don't want to be there when the ground starts moving.
That may be the time they need the Incredible Hulk, though.
But no, I'm not. That'll be a situation where I'm like, save myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, not at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm running around. We had an earthquake here in North Carolina about 5-6 years ago, and it was a small one, man. I think that's when they had an earthquake in Maryland, and we got like the ripple effect. And I think our earthquake was like maybe a 1.4 or something like that, and I freaked out because, in my opinion, I should move and not the ground. And when I'm moving, or when I'm standing still and the ground starts moving, there's an issue.
Mm-hmm. All righty.
But yeah, anyway, talk about New Japan and stuff, man. You get a chance, Kev. I will admit, not every match may be to everybody's liking. Obviously, we know that Abby over there, Thursday Night AMP hates, Tai Chi and stuff. But I thought that his spot during the show was great. I know she has a huge problem with Tanahashi's hair. Tanahashi's hair was laid flat, was blown out, looking royally majestic in my opinion. But it's definitely worth a look. If you get a chance, even if you don't watch the entire show, those last 4 matches, I would put those last 4 matches up against anything that WWE has put out this year, and that's including the Tyler Bates Pete Dunne match at NXT TakeOver Chicago. once again, without giving out too many spoilers and stuff, without going too much into detail, because I know we're going to go into extreme detail Thursday, Okada versus Omega. I know that everybody said the Wrestle Kingdom match was like the greatest match ever. It got 6 stars, and there was no way, and everybody was really afraid that if they have this rematch, and it was not going to live up to the hype, myself included. I was like, you know, they're going to have a great match. Is it going to be better than the Wrestle Kingdom 11 match? Probably not. I definitely think that they went above and beyond that match. Would I say it's a 7-star match? No, but I definitely would say it's another 6-star match. Obviously, Kevin, I know you read the spoilers on that they went 60 minutes, you know, to a 60-minute draw, which is leading up to a third match, just because Okada in the interview was saying that, he has to face, even if Kenny Omega wasn't the number 1 contender, he had to face Kenny Omega again just to prove that he's better than Kenny Omega. But I think leading into their shows in Japan, I think that Okada is facing Cody, no last name, just Cody, formerly Cody Rhodes, son of a plumber. Me, myself, very hesitant about that match, but, you know, hopefully it'll be a great match. In my opinion, Okada is one of the best wrestlers in the world. Definitely not the best wrestler in the world, but he's definitely in the top 10 best wrestlers in the world. As far as champions go in wrestling, he's probably having the best year of any champion in wrestling so far. So, you know.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's see. This weekend, let me talk about this weekend some. Saturday, I worked a fair show, and I'm not a huge fan of outdoor shows, Kev. I'll admit that.
Yeah, I don't blame you there, because especially this time of the year, it's hot, it's humid, there's no shade. You just go out there, you're immediately sweating. If you're you're the kind of wrestler where you gotta oil up to really look good, get some sheen on you, then you're basically just boiling yourself right there, and then you gotta go against an opponent, you know, who's done the same thing, and if you're not in the first match right out there, that mat is gonna be a sloppy mess, especially if they got the vinyl mats. I mean, it's like oil wrestling, you know, out in the middle of the sun, and there's no showers either, and you're just gonna be a hot, stinking, slippery mess. Who the hell books these shows?
A lot of people book these shows, and there was all of those things and more. I don't think there was any baby oil involved, though, thank God.
All right, more importantly, why the hell do you continue to book yourselves on these shows?
I'm getting to that. I'm gonna get to that. You have to wait for the finale. So Saturday I went to NRLL, Nueve Revolution Lucha Libre. They're based out of Greensboro, North Carolina, but they did a fair show, in Concord, North Carolina, right across the street from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Outdoor show. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of outdoor shows, mainly because there's no crowd control. The sound for the crowd, you can't really judge the match based on the sound of the crowd, because the sound goes up and away instead of, up, hit a wall, hit the ceiling, come back down to where you're at. And then, like you said, it's hot, it's humid. Unless you're working with unless you're working with like a very good company, it's a company who is very organized and knows their shit. Dressing room, locker room areas are very less than optimal. The dressing area we had Saturday was not bad. It was separated from the crowd, so the crowd couldn't see us. But it was, of course, it was still outside as well. And like you said, they had a vinyl mat. Luckily, like I said, there was no baby oil. None of the guys was wearing baby oil, so that was good. Thank goodness. But we did a tag team match with 3 very green guys. All 3 of them have been in the business one of the guys has been in the business for about 3-4 years. The other 2 guys have been in the business for less than 2 years. So therefore I was the vet in the match. Put together a very simple, Lucha Libre style match, or Lucha Libre American hybrid style match, because most of those guys didn't know how to work a Lucha Libre style. So it was okay. Was supposed to be, a heel, but for some reason the fans love me. Maybe I didn't have the personality. Maybe it was also because I was the biggest guy in the match. I was just throwing everybody around. I have no idea. Lucha Libre fans are very fickle, I guess. But of course we got the win, you know. The reason why I did the show, Kev, is because I'm trying to work bigger. I'm a huge fan of Lucha Libre. I know I told you this before. I follow AAA and CMLL more than I follow New Japan. And that's a shoot. So I'm trying to work bigger Lucha Libre companies like Mucha Lucha down at ATL, and hopefully eventually I end up working in Chicago for a couple of Lucha Libre companies in Chicago and New York, and eventually make my way to Mexico. But the problem is these bigger companies want to know, you know, they see a guy like me and they're just like, oh, you just want a wrestling booking, you know nothing about Lucha Libre. So therefore I had a very close friend of mine who works very closely with the office for several bigger Lucha Libre companies. And his advice was, hey, Will, you know, try to work a Lucha Libre company, smaller Lucha companies, get the experience, get to know, get some recordings, get some video and stuff if you work in the style, work in these companies. That way you can send this stuff to these bigger companies, and they know that you can work the style. So that's why I started doing it. Trying to be the whole heavyweight high flyer, you know, nacho negro, whatever you want to call it. You know, my goal is to go. One of my goals is to go to Mexico and wrestle in Mexico Arena. So, in order to do that, you know, you got to work these small shows and work your way up. Sunday, I was at RWA in Johnny and June's in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Did the Battle Royal. Didn't win, you know, but it's okay. Made a mistake and we were going to toss this kid over in the last second. He got me in the head scissors and pulled me over too. It's whatever, you know. Battle Royals are Battle Royals. We both know that, right, Kev?
Yeah, it's Battle Royal. What are you going to do?
Exactly.
You know, but it's good. I mean, how long have you been in this business, Will?
10 years.
You're a veteran. I think that's fair to say.
Some people will say that. People will say that. I don't consider myself one, but some people will say that.
I would say it's fair to say you're a veteran, or at least a veteran of the indies. You know, and it's nice to see that a person with your tenure on the circuit and your stature, with the reputation you have and the number of belts you have, you're still striving to prove yourself. And you're willing to go wherever you need to go to continue to build on that reputation. That's just awesome.
Well, thank you, Kev. You know, I don't mind working. I like working with younger talent. I know there's a lot of guys who's been working 10, 12, 15 years, whatever, and they don't like working with a lot of the younger guys. They don't like working with kids who have less than 5 years experience, just because, you know, you're not going to have a quote-unquote 5-star match. Me, myself, I love working with younger talent. Maybe that's why I have the reputation I have now. Maybe that's why, you know, I have the modicum of respect I have now, because I like working with the younger talent. Because just as much as I can teach them, they teach me. You know, there might be some things, as far as like wrestling goes, I can teach them about psychology and putting together a match. And then these younger kids teach me about, you know, social media and promoting and merchandise and marketing and stuff, and coming up with different ways of marketing yourself that I never thought of, you know, different ways of how to use a Facebook or an Instagram or a Twitter and stuff like that. So it's a trade-off and stuff. As far as doing Battle Royals, you know, I'm going to go ahead and say Battle Royals are pretty much easy for the most part. Unless you get in there with some guys who just really want to have a good time and just beat the hell out of each other. I'm not one of those guys who just want to go out there, because there's some guys who get in Battle Royals and they just want to chop and beat up and punch the green kids and stuff, and I'm just not that guy most of the time. I'm like, look, I'm not winning. If I'm not winning, let's just go out here and have fun. You know, let's go out here, have fun, get a couple laughs in the crowd, you know, make sure they're entertained, and then let's go home. There's no need to really go crazy and go balls to the wall in a battle royal when you have 20, 30 people in the ring at the same time. The fans won't be able to see everything. They won't be able to see everything. They won't be able to catch everything. So, you know, just keep it simple.
Yeah.
So, anyway, talking about keeping it simple, talking about West Coast and traveling and everything, tonight's guest, very well traveled. Highly respect the guy. Good friend of mine and stuff, man. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are fortunate and very gracious to have on the show let me make sure I got it correct, the NAWA Cruiserweight Champion, somebody who has a lot of ties. Turns out we have a lot of close friends, a lot of mutual friends. We have a lot of close and mutual friends and stuff. And he's also a former military vet, so we definitely want to thank him for his service. It's the Mr. Studtacular, all the way from Texas, Mr. Studtacular Brysin Scott. Did I get that right?
Yeah, you got everything. Well, even doing other cruiserweight championship, but it's just
which one?
Main event cruiserweight champion.
Oh, I'm sorry, main event. What, the main event? Is that where what's his name? Oh man. Byron Wilcox and all them down there.
Big Daddy Yum Yum.
Oh, that's my buddy. So how you doing tonight, man?
Oh, man, I can't complain. It's a beautiful night here in Texas. I'm sitting on the back porch with my son, and he's eating pretzels and feeding the dogs.
He's eating pretzels and feeding the dogs. Now, we're going to get into a bunch of stuff, but you already told me, you sent me a message and stuff, because we're talking about the show and everything. So before we get into anything else, I want to hear about these 6 stories from this past weekend, man. Go ahead and tell us where you were at, if you were wrestling, where were you wrestling at, who you were wrestling, tell us one of these 6 stories.
Oh, man. Well, it all started, I hit up Gregory James because we were both on the same show for NAWA on Friday night. And I just moved to San Antonio, so I have to go through Austin. I hit him up, hey, you want to ride with? He goes, yeah, sure. Just cut down on fuel prices, you know? And then he says, hey, can my buddy Donnie hop in? I was like, yeah, not a problem. And then he ended up being booked the next night at SOAR for Sir Mo. And so me and Mo knew each other. We've worked together before, so I messaged Mo and asked if he had any openings. And he said, yeah, I could squeeze you in. So we ended up turning it into a weekend thing. It was just great. We didn't know each other very well, but then at the end of the weekend, we came out brothers, or we're calling ourselves the Road Sharks now. But, where to start? Donnie Giovanni, this guy, he's been in and out of the business. He's really getting hungry now, and he's just hilarious. He sits in the back of the car, riding around for like 30 minutes straight, doing Italian mob, Don mob impersonation, talking about my horrible driving, talking about we're driving in a moving coffin, and he's gonna cut my big toe off. And me and Greg are just. And he just keeps going about the big toe. And then government conspiracies about money and the whole mob voice. It was great. Me and Greg got a great ab workout before we even got to Planet Fitness that day.
Man, I must say, isn't that usually the case, man? Like, you know, it's always great when you have guys in the car, even guys that you first meet them and you spend a weekend in the car with them, and next thing you know, you feel like y'all have been friends forever. And it just makes the weekend go by so much quicker, right?
Oh, for sure. And it's honestly been so long since I've had like a weekend ride with the guys because, you know, I'm married, my wife's a worker, you know, we got 2 kids. We try and take them as many places as we can, or if it's close enough to home, we try and just go to our shows and get back home to everybody. So it was definitely fun to get back on the road with the guys for the first time in a long time.
Oh yeah, trust me, I know. Like a lot of times, man, like now, because I travel so often, I travel so much in so many different states in one weekend. Usually, it's just me in the car. You know, and I got the radio playing, and you know, maybe in my case, nobody likes to ride with me because according to Wildman Congo, I have like the worst musical taste ever. According to him, the only other person in wrestling who has worse musical taste than me would be Mick Foley. But, you know, it's cool when you love that camaraderie and stuff, and hang out with the boys and talk and shop and everything.
Yeah, I think we got real close because I'm a podcast listener, and I'll get into a podcast and I'll laugh, and I'm like, oh, so that's why that happened, and completely forget there's other people in the car with me and they're laughing at me. So I think we just mainly talk shop just so they wouldn't have to laugh at me.
Well, that's better than nothing.
Yeah, I'm a podcast guy. I'm always listening to a podcast while I'm in the car.
Well, see, now you have another podcast that you can listen to. You know, this show, we record it every Tuesday and stuff. It's usually up, because Killer Kev is amazing when it comes to producing stuff. So I usually have it done fairly quickly and stuff, man. You can download it, you know, on iTunes or the Google Play Store. You can go to YouTube and download it. You know, the links are all over the place. You know, so now you can start listening to this one if you wasn't listening before.
Awesome. Yeah, and we'll definitely get it out there so anybody that's on my pages can check it out as well.
Now let's get into some Brysin Scott, man, because you weren't always Brysin Scott when it came to professional wrestling, huh?
No, I was not.
Let's see. The first thing, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, he wasn't always Brysin Scott. Before, you were Langdon Thomas, and you worked for some really good friends of mine up in the eastern part of Virginia. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. Wow, Landon Thomas. Haven't heard that name in a while. Actually, I did hear about it this past weekend. A crazy story about the whole name of Landon Thomas. I was in high school dating a girl, and she had a child. He was 2 years old at the time, but at 10 months old, he was diagnosed with a brain tumor and was given a 30% chance of living to the age of 2. That little boy's name was Landon Thomas Sandrill. And when I started wrestling, I asked her if it would be okay if I used his name to show my respect of how courageous and how strong he was for fighting the brain tumor and everything else, that he lived that long. Come to find out, last week, Landon ended up passing away. I found this out through my mom. My mom called and told me. So, yeah. There's all that with the Landon Thomas name.
Well, I'm sorry to hear about that passing away and stuff. We could definitely, you know, dedicate this episode to his memory.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
So, no problem, man. So you started off in Virginia, am I correct?
Yes, I started off at the Vanguard Championship Wrestling Training Facility. This was before it was the Bump Zone.
Now, who are your trainers? Because I know some of the guys who train there now, who are the trainers now. But who trained you and who brought you into the business?
Originally, who brought me into the business would have been my dad. See, I had a little bit of training prior to moving to Virginia because my dad was a professional wrestler, so he trained me a little bit. But then once I moved back to Virginia from South Carolina, Pat Cusick, Chris Escobar, Phil Brown, Sean Binney, and Damian Wayne and Preston Quinn all had a hand in training me. And also, I can't go without saying Jack 66 or Crotch, because they all played a big role in my growth in wrestling in the beginning.
And see, that is so wild because, like, so since you know all those names, I know you remember this group of guys used to travel around called the Seven Stiffs, right?
Seven Stiffs. It sounds very familiar.
Let's see. I can't remember everybody, but I want to say it was Escobar, Damian Wayne, PQ, Mike Booth, Adrian Whisper, Marty Reed, and Rick Sterling.
Yeah, that sounds like a bunch of stiffs.
You know, like before the show, I was watching the match, man, with you and Phil Brown, man, back at VCW. Man, I want to say it was about 5-6 years ago.
It was December 19th, or December 9th of 2009. That was my last show before I joined the military.
Oh, man. So how was it, you know, like, because Phil Brown, man, has, in my opinion, Phil Brown has the sweetest punch in professional wrestling. And I know a lot of guys are like, oh, you know, Jerry Lawler had a great punch, and Terry Funk, and nowadays everybody's talking, you know, PQ has a great punch, and C.W. Anderson has a great punch. But, like, Phil Brown's punch, man, I remember, like, the first time I worked Phil, he threw that punch, and I actually stopped and flinched because I thought he was about to knock me out. And it was probably the lightest punch I'd ever taken in wrestling.
Man, and you look at how Phil throws his punches, and then you can see guys on TV trying to throw punches like Phil Brown. But let me tell you, nobody can throw a punch like Phil Brown.
Yeah, he throws at full speed, and you're just like, oh God, this is about to knock me out. Like, oh, this is gonna hurt, and it's like, whew, and you're like, oh God, I lived. Okay, all right, no problem. Did he swing already?
Phil Brown is definitely a master of the craft, and I'm still baffled that he doesn't have a contract anywhere.
Oh, definitely. So, when you first broke into business, like I said, you was working with basically 5 out of the 7 stiffs, and then a good buddy of mine, Crotch, who I love to death. How was the training, man? Was it very old school?
I think it was very old school. I remember doing squats and push-ups and rolling back and forth, and then people asking me questions just to see how blown up I was. I remember, there was a couple times that I just let loose because Esco came back like right towards it was the mid of my training, but he came back from California and he started training us, and oh man, he just drilled us, and my cardio was top notch back then just because of Esco, but then he would come in and drill us so hard some days that I'd be out in the parking lot puking for like 30 minutes straight.
Yeah, they used to get me like that. What year did you break into the business?
I broke in 2007.
2007. So we broke in the same year, which is weird. Because I don't think we met each other until, 2011? 2012?
2012, because I was in Iraq in 2011.
Yeah, so we broke into business at the same time in the same area, basically surrounded by the same guys. Because I lived in North Carolina, and I remember Damian Wayne and Sean Denny and Escobar and them would all travel to Havelock where I live at. And they were wrestling for a company here in Havelock. And they would come in, man, and before, the show started, they was like, oh, kid, are you green? Yeah, well, come in here. We're going to teach you some stuff. And like you said, it was just nonstop drills. I used to hate Damian Wayne wasn't too bad. DW has never been too bad as far as, like, bullying somebody. And really making you throw up. But I remember the few times that Escobar would walk in there, I would try to make myself very scarce where he didn't have to see me because I knew it was nonstop, push-ups, sit-ups, crab walks, rolling and bumping for like 2 hours before the show even started.
Yeah. Oh, man, you're bringing back memories now.
Well, that's what this is all about, man. So, started off with VCW. Started off, you said you started in South Carolina with a little bit of training for your dad. Then you went to Virginia, started training at VCW with DW and everybody and stuff. What was the decision made to leave wrestling and join the military?
A horrible thing called an ex-wife. Again, I was dating a girl and she had a kid, and she said, if you want to be with me, you got to have your ducks in a row. What better way to get my ducks in a row than go into the military, get insurance for everybody and all that. I do that. I get stationed in Fort Hood in July of 2010. In February of 2011, I left for Iraq. I was there for 10 months, came back in November of 2011, and she was gone.
Well, good riddance. Sorry, she didn't deserve you anyway. Can we call her a bitch?
Not at all.
Can we call her a bitch?
Oh, yeah. Blake, you're a bitch. We know that.
Bitch. See, that's weird because, like, I joined the military. I joined the military right after high school. It's like 97. In the December of 97. I went to boot camp 2 days after I went to boot camp 2 days after the semester ended in December. And then I came back for like a weekend to graduate high school, and I went straight to AIT after that.
Wow.
But I was in the military before. Yeah, I was in the military before I got into wrestling. You stopped wrestling to join the military.
Well, I
don't know,
because even when I was in the military here in Texas, I started wrestling, and even when I deployed to Korea for a 9-month rotation, I still did a little bit of wrestling over there. Not on any shows, but I still got to train a little bit.
Now, okay, I'm going to ask you because I was stationed in Korea. Where were you at in Korea?
I was at Camp Hovey or Camp Casey.
So jealous. I was at
same
Camp
thing. Red Cloud?
Yeah, I was stationed. Yes, I was stationed at Camp Red Cloud, man, division headquarters. And back in 99 and 2000, there was zero wrestling. They had like WWE came by, not WWE, but this independent wrestling company came by and did a tour like once for like maybe 4 weeks, and that was about it. Like there was no wrestling in Korea when I was stationed there.
Yeah. But it was like it was down past Seoul, and it was in this little like old like a greenhouse type thing, and it was so cold because I was there in that was like January or February. I went down there, and it was like snowing. It was just so cold in that barn, but I was like, I've got to get in the ring.
So do you think that being in the military, being deployed and stuff, man, do you think that added a lot of wear and tear? It just aggravated the wear and tear on your body that you already had from wrestling?
Oh, for sure. My knees, I'm 28 years old, and I already wear braces on my knees when I wrestle. My back's pretty much shot, but I can't stop doing what I love. You know how it is.
Well, yeah, I definitely, like I tell people all the time, it's like, I had the knees of a 50-year-old before I even got into wrestling. I did 6.5 years in the military, did 2 deployments and stuff, went to airborne school and air assault school. So my knees and ankles and back were already messed up from countless jumps and road marches with 80-pound rucksacks and stuff. And then you get into wrestling and you take your body goes through all that abuse. But for you, you already had the abuse of being in wrestling and stuff, and then compound that you're in the military at the same time. And still doing shows, man. I cannot imagine how sore you were on Monday morning having to go to PT.
It is pretty bad sometimes. I mean, now that I'm out of the military, I can say this. I remember I was on a show. It was like a Wednesday night show. It was a weird show. It was down in Waco. I went and wrestled, and I just bumped wrong. It was just like I was taking a leg layer, and I just bumped wrong. And boom, my shoulder, I just couldn't feel my shoulder anymore. It was just hanging there. So I was like, yep, I just separated it. So I finished the match and everything else. I drive home in my gear because my arm just hurt too bad to even take it off. And I'm like, I'm not going to go to the hospital. I'm not going to go to the hospital because I'm not trying to get in trouble at PT formation the next day. And then I sneezed, and I was like, oh, time to go to the hospital. So we go to the hospital and find out I separated my shoulder and tore my labrum. And I ended up coming up with a story that, because it was around Halloween time, and my wife's like a Halloween nut. She's got so many decorations. So I blamed it on her, told them I was coming out of the attic with Halloween decorations and lost my balance and took a bump in the garage floor. So that's how I got out of not getting Article 15 for wrestling during the week.
I want to say, like, how did your command feel about you? Did your command know that you were a professional wrestler? Because I'm pretty sure it's kind of hard to hide that.
Oh, they knew, and oh man, you know how we are sometimes as wrestlers. We've got our pictures with our gear on, and, sometimes we take some goofy pictures, and sometimes I'll come in on a Monday morning and there's one of my promo pictures hanging up in the conference room, and I'm just like, hey, thanks for the publicity.
Well, I mean, it's cool that they didn't give me too much grief about it. I know some guys who are in the military and stuff, and, they have to wear a hood or whatever because their unit is completely against them wrestling whatsoever. So, they have to wear a hood and everything. But it's cool that your command knew about it.
Yeah. Some of my commands didn't really like it, and then others were okay with it. But it's cool now that I'm out. I've had more friends from the military come out and watch me wrestle now that I'm out than I had when I was in. Like, one of my platoon sergeants came and saw me wrestle, and he's been coming ever since then because he fell in love with it.
Oh, well, that's amazing right there. All right, so military, you do your tour, do your combat tours, you go for the military and stuff, you fulfill your contract obligations, and now you're back on the indies and stuff, man. Was there a huge difference, wrestling and then, usually you've been used to wrestling and then having to go to work Monday morning and stuff and be a soldier? Was it a big, huge, culture shock and stuff when you got out of the military and then that Monday after you wrestled Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Oh, man, it was great because I didn't have to get up early for nothing. I just had to lay in bed and just got to hang out. It's still weird sometimes. Like, sometimes I still wake up early and I'll end up going to the gym because my body's still used to working out at those early hours. But I mean, I don't think it was really different, really, or culture shock. I mean, it's just another weekend and then going back to work. You know, it's repetition breeds proficiency, so it's like muscle memory, honestly.
Now, I want to talk about, you know, what you got going on now. You're the NAWA Cruiserweight Champion. What other titles do you hold?
The main event Cruiserweight title as well.
Okay. So you travel about the big. Let me ask you about the Texas wrestling scene, because Texas obviously is the biggest state in the country. I know with just at one point the NWA had like 11 affiliates, 11 NWA affiliates just in Texas. And of course, yes, it was huge. They had like 11 affiliates at one point just in Texas. And 4 of them were like within an hour of Houston. 4 or 5 of them were like within an hour of Houston. How is traveling? So I'm pretty sure you know, any day of the week or every weekend, there's something going on in Texas. How is the Texas wrestling scene right now?
Oh, I think it's going pretty good. There's a pretty good boom. I mean, there's a great group down here called Heel Face Wrestling, and what they're starting to do at the beginning of the month, or as the month's closing, they'll put up the calendar for the next month, and it'll have every show for that day and what town and what promotion it is. They're doing a great job of helping promote indie wrestling here in Texas. So a huge thank you to them, because that gets us seen, you know. But the traveling, I mean, the wrestling is great down here right now. A lot of people are changing up how they produce their product. They're stepping up their game. Main Event's just amazing with their production quality. TWE here in San Antonio's getting great production quality. NAWA, they're all stepping up their game, and that's what I like to see, because if they're stepping up their production quality, that means that they're doing good business, and if they're doing good business, we're doing good business.
Oh yeah, there's so many great wrestling companies. You know, the 3 that you just mentioned. And then, of course, you have Booker T's Reality of Wrestling down.
Yes, I'm still trying to get down there. I got to get with JJ on that one.
Oh, you know, I'm going to say JJ. I've been talking to JJ about going there. My former tag team partner, Joe Black, Joseph McGowan, he wrestles there, and then his girlfriend.
Yeah, I seen Joe got down there, because I talked to Joe a little bit about when he was going to be there, try and get him something else here in Texas, but he hasn't let me know the next time he's going to be here.
That sounds like him.
Now I get a nice house in San Antonio with enough room to be able to house people if they need a place to crash.
I'm gonna remember that the next time, because I was about to say Philip Langdon has Texoma. Last month in Texas, man, I worked for Philip Langdon down there in Texoma, man, and I loved it. The locker room is different than being here on the East Coast, down here in the South.
Yeah, you hear that, Robert? Robert, book Huckabee and book us. We'll come up. We'll have to talk share this.
Oh, yeah, definitely got to tag Philip. But, you know, Philip Texoma is a great show. You know, Main Event, Byron Wilcox and all those guys, man, they are promoting machines, man. You know, TWE is really moving. I've heard a lot about TWE and stuff. And then NAWA, in my opinion, NAWA just came out of nowhere. It was like 1 minute didn't know anything about it. The next minute, you know, like every 5th or 6th post on my timeline, especially on Facebook, was NAWA. So, congratulations to you, and congratulations to them for getting the word out.
Thank you. That's what it's all about, man. Promote wherever you are, or on Facebook, anywhere. Like, I promote while I'm driving around doing my shoot job, you know. Saw a guy with John Cena signed poster. Oh, you like wrestling? Yeah. Okay, here. Send him, because I was already texting him anyway. I sent him a picture of the flyer for the July 1st show I'm on. So now he's going to come to that. So
now let's talk. You want to talk about promoting, man? Let's talk about this ridiculously crazy finishing combo that you have, man. Which I guess a part of it is an homage to Kerry Von Erich, because you got the discus punch into I don't know what you call it, like a torture rack into a knee. But you don't do like the go to sleep knee like Donovan Dijak. You drop down to a knee and they take the knee while you're kneeling. That's like a crazy combination, man. Where'd you come up with that?
I don't know. I just always loved like the roaring forearm and stuff like that. I've always been a huge mark for that. And then, actually the torture rack to the face to the knee, I was just playing with my daughter one time, and I did it, but of course it was all safe. It was all legit. And, it worked great for her. So I was like, all right, let me try it on somebody, that I can work with. And I did it, and it worked great. And so I just started using that. At first, I did that into a Shining Wizard, but so many people were saying, oh, the Shining is overkill. So I cut that and just went with what I'm calling now the Studtacular facelift. And yeah, that's just how that came about.
Man, I like it. Like I said, you have a great set with the discus punch, man. But like the torture racket to the sit that, to the knee, I love it, man. I think nothing is completely original in professional wrestling now. But in my opinion, it's a great substitute for the GTS. So if even Ray Rose, Death Ray and stuff, where he gives you the knee to the back of the head, I think that George is a great, I was gonna get to that. I was gonna ask you how was it working with Ray Rowe, man? Because in my opinion, he's probably one of the strongest guys in professional wrestling, pound for pound. For his height, for his size, this guy is like just crazy strong.
Oh, for sure. He when we were going over the match, he's like, I want to try this. He's like, but I'm scared I'm going to throw you into the ceiling. I said, screw it, let's do it. Let's hit the ceiling. And, my nose definitely touched the ceiling tile. Ray Rose is definitely strong, but he's an awesome guy. I learned so much just in that match from Ray. I still can't thank him enough. I definitely wasn't ready at that time to be in the ring with somebody his caliber. I'm still not, but I'm working my way there, thanks to him.
Besides Ray Rowe, because you said that he helps you out so much, who are some of the other guys, in the Texas indie scene and stuff that you can consider mentors?
Mentors, definitely Rudy Boy Gonzalez, Byron Wilcott, John Famous. John Famous has helped me a lot recently. Like, nobody cared who Brysin Scott was. And then John Famous brought me into NAWA, and I won the Cruiserweight title my first night. And ever since then, I won the main event Cruiserweight title, and I've really started to be noticed now, and I can't thank John enough because he took a big risk, believing in me, and he did it, and now more people are starting to, and I'm so humbled by that.
Isn't it always cool? Because, we both realize this, a lot of other wrestlers realize this. It usually takes one person believing in you and saying, hey, this guy has what it takes, to draw money or to be a main event guy. How good does it feel when you get that, that nod when somebody says, all right, we're going to put you in this position. This is the spot we're going to give you. And once they give it to you, everybody else sees, oh, well, maybe we've been looking at him wrong. How about we give this guy a shot? How does that make you feel?
Oh, it makes me feel great because I knew for a while there that I was on the wrong path. Like, I was posting stupid stuff on Facebook, I wasn't being professional. I wasn't being who I should have been as a performer and as a public figure. And I took a step back and I looked at that, and I completely changed myself, and I've got people actually telling me that they see that now, and that's why their opinion on me has changed. So I'm definitely glad that.
So, hello?
Hello?
Okay, just make sure we still had you. Did you ever, in your opinion, how different, because you wrestled so long on the East Coast in the Mid-Atlantic area, how different is it wrestling in the Mid-Atlantic area as it is to wrestling in Texas?
Definitely the license in Virginia. That's always a pain in the ass dealing with GPOR. But
yeah, nothing's changed on that. Believe you me, nothing's changed on that.
Yeah, I gotta talk to DPOR anyway for December. Oh, I don't know if I was supposed to say that yet. Oops. Little spoiler alert. But right now, I don't see much difference. Everybody's producing quality talent, putting on great productive shows. That's all we could ask for is performers somewhere good to go that's got quality entertainment and a good fan base.
Definitely. Do you ever find yourself, I don't know, because I envision the style to be so different, working in Virginia and North Carolina and stuff can be so different working in Texas. Do you ever find yourself using a lot of old tricks that you remember, guys like PQ and Phil Brown and Damian Wayne use and stuff? Do you find yourself going back and using some of those old tricks and old spots in your matches now?
Oh yeah. The whole spot that Damian used to do all the time, I love it. He'd have the guy on the corner post, he'd chop him once, chop him twice, go for the third one, guy moves and he chops the post with his hand. Oh, I've already told Wayne I used it. I know, but I told him I used it. I had to. I love it. It's just one of those spots that's great, and the kids go nuts for it.
It's a real good heel spot. Let's go ahead and call it what it is. It's a real good heel spot, right?
And that's what I've been working mainly is heel.
So anything else that you've stolen from the guys in Virginia? I won't tell them. They might listen to this podcast here, but I won't tell them.
Not that I can think of. I mean, Sean Denny will probably call me out on something. I know. What? Somebody telling you to ask this?
No, not even.
Oh, you're setting me up. He's setting me up.
No, come on. Look, we already know, Sean Denny's a friend of yours, he's a friend of mine and stuff, man. And if you have stolen something or borrowed something, because you can't steal anything in wrestling these days, you can only borrow. But if you have borrowed something of Sean Denny's, we both know that you would have heard about it on Facebook by now.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't really think, cause I as much as I think I respect those guys too much to try to do anything else they do, because I knew I couldn't do it like them. And I couldn't do it to justice as they do. So I don't think I've really done anything else besides the little chop spot.
Speaking about respect and stuff, man, we've seen, and I know that you keep up with social media just as much as I do and stuff, man. And, there's been a huge discussion for, I'll say, the last month about what is wrestling and what is not wrestling. And, guys who wrestled in the 90s hate guys who wrestle, in this decade or the 2000s, and guys who started when we started or started complaining about a lot of these kids who are coming in now. What is your opinion about wrestling and how everybody feels that wrestling should be this and this only?
Oh, if we're going to like the whole dive thing, hashtag dive.
Yes, the hashtag dive thing.
Yeah. Honestly, in my opinion, if it makes sense in your match to dive, if your opponent's on the outside, don't you want to try and get him back in the ring? Do you want to just gingerly walk over there where he could accidentally trip you and then he's got the upper hand? No, you want to go after him full on and attack. Take a dive on him. Stay on top. So I think it can make perfectly good sense in a match as long as you use it in the psychology that it's used for. But I mean, just going out and flipping and, 8 backflips at once and stuff like that. I mean, it's all cool that you can do it, but does it make sense? That's my biggest thing. Like I said, I came from like PQ, Phil Brown, all them guys. Does it make sense is my biggest question.
So because I know, like, I see around here in North Carolina and stuff, there's never been, I can never think of a time where the guys have been more athletic than ever before. And I thought that a lot of guys, when I first started off, Damian Wayne with that corkscrew leg drop he used to do off the top rope. I used to think that was so amazing. Especially for somebody, of his age at the time. And then you got guys who can do that in their sleep. So of course here in the Mid-Atlantic, you see all these guys who are super athletic and they don't realize they don't have the psychology part yet. So all they can do is these flashy, high risk moves and stuff. Is it the same way in Texas?
A little bit here and there. I mean, we've got our cruiserweights that fly like crazy, and they're very athletic. I mean, like guys like Derek Brown and Gregory James. Those guys are just like amazing athletic, and like it's crazy because they're like the same weight as me, and Barrett and me are like the same height. Gregory's a little taller, but they're so much more athletic than me. I guess I'm like a little tree stump. I'm not supposed to jump too high or something, but. Yeah, those guys are crazy athletic. There's a bunch of crazy athletic guys down here.
I look at you, man, and you're very broad. You're very wide for a cruiserweight, man. You're not the typical cruiserweight. What are you, like, 205, 210?
Shoot, 163.
One what?
163.
Jesus, on video, you look so much bigger than what you are. And of course, the camera adds 10 pounds. I don't think it adds 40 pounds, but, in comparison to guys, you look very broad. You don't look like your prototypical cruiserweight. You remind me of, my favorite type of cruiserweight is, the Dean Malenko, Jamie Noble kind of cruiserweight. While everybody else is flying, these guys are beating you down to the mat, with different reversals and actual wrestling moves and being technical wrestlers. And that's the build, and that's how you remind me. Is that the look and the style that you're going for?
Yeah. Dean Malenko is one of my all-time favorites. I love how technical he is and how fluid he is. There's no wasted motion with Dean Malenko. And, if I could just have an ounce of his ability, it'd be phenomenal. But, I don't think that'll come.
Oh, don't say that, man. Like I said, you're obviously, more than one person believes in you besides yourself. So obviously,
but the amount of talent that Dean Malenko has, I don't know if I can touch that. I'm gonna try.
Well, look, man, I know that our time is running short with you and stuff, man. Like I say, you're sitting on the back porch, you got family time with the wife and the kids and everything. But go ahead and let us know, before we get all of your social media stuff, what upcoming events you got where fans, in the Texas area can definitely come and check you out?
June 24th, I will be in Falfurrias, Texas for TWE. July 1st, I will be in San Antonio, Texas for TWE. July 8th, I will be in Dallas, Texas for SOAR Championship Wrestling. And July 15th, myself and my wife, Simply Luscious, will be in New Orleans, Louisiana for Voodoo Wrestling to take on Jazz and Rodney Mack.
Oh, God. You're taking on, look, hold on, pause. Stop for a second. You said you and your wife are taking on Jazz and Rodney Mack?
Yes, I did.
Have you ever wrestled Rodney Mack?
I have not. I've never met either one of them.
Okay. Well, I have. I wrestled Rodney Mack earlier this year. And I can say without a doubt, and I've been chopped and hit by some of the hardest hitters on the East Coast. Bordell Walker, Damian Wayne, Mark James, Lewis Moore, the Iron Chief back when we first broke in. I've never had anybody hit me as hard as Rodney Mack.
Do you remember when he nailed Wayne and his face swole up?
Yes. Matter of fact, the week that week that he nailed Wayne, I worked with him in Mount Airy, North Carolina, the week before, like a week or two before that. I want to say 2 weeks before that, I wrestled him in Mount Airy, North Carolina. I've never, we had a last man standing match, and there was maybe 30, 40 chops between the both of us. I've never been hit that hard in my life. And my chest looked like somebody had took sandpaper and just scraped it across my chest. Usually when somebody hits you, they just bust your chest open and, you just bust it open. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
He peeled a layer of skin. The top layer of skin on my chest had been peeled off and rubbed raw. And my entire chest was just scabbed over, from where he had chopped me. I chopped Rodney Mack so hard. I have huge hands. I wear a size 15.5 ring. As a shoot, my hand, if I spread my hand wide, it's the same size as a sheet of notebook paper. It's 8.5. My hand, my wingspan of my hand is 8.5 inches by 10 inches, 10.5 inches. That's how big my hand is. Huh?
The promo picture on it.
I think I could definitely put a promo picture on my hand. And I hit him so hard with a chop because we're chopping, and I'm not quitting. Every time he hits me, I'm gonna hit him back. I hit him so hard, I thought I broke my hand. And my hand actually swelled up. That's how hard I hit him. And he looked at me, and God's honest truth, I chopped him, and I thought I broke my hand. And he looked at me, and he was like, "That's how you chop, bitch." And then he hit me with what I can only describe as the right hand of God. And all the air left my chest. And these kids in the front row were just just quit. Just don't get up. He's going to kill you. Just don't get up. So I'm warning you right now. everything else, like Rodney Mack is a great professional. He's a true professional, man. Like everything else is exactly how it should be, et cetera, et cetera. Those chops, though, I'm telling you right now, is probably the hardest chops I've ever taken in 10 years. And I tell anybody that works with, like, look, if he's going to chop you like a grown man, and you will never be the same after that fucking chop. I'm telling you right now, okay?
I guess I'm going to get a little bit umbrella because he's going to flatten me out.
Anytime, just letting you know. Just watch that first chop, man. It's going to be bad. It's just like, oh shit, that's what Will was talking about. Yep. I can't take two more of these. Anyway, before we get to social media, one last question: if the situation arises, the opportunity comes up, are we going to see you back over here on the East Coast, man?
I'm headed to the East Coast in December. I mean, that's all I can say for right now. I can't say too much more than that, but I will be on the East Coast in December in wrestling gear.
I'm going to talk to a couple of promoters that I know and stuff, man. See if we can get Brysin Scott versus Will Huckabee. I happen to know one particular booker man in particular who would love to book that match. So I'm going to get with you after the show. We'll find out when you're going to be in December and stuff.
All right, we'll let you know.
All right. So once again, like I said, I know our time with you is running short. So give us all your social media where fans can follow you and check out what's going on with Mr. Studtacular.
On Facebook, Mr. Studtacular, Brysin Scott. Just type it in the search engine. Instagram, I'm pretty sure it's Mr. Studtacular, Brysin Scott, or Mr. Studtacular BS. And the same goes for Twitter, at Mr. Studtacular BS. So, yeah, give me a follow. I'll follow you back, and thanks for your support.
There you go. Once again, Brysin, thank you for being a guest on our show. I'm going to find out, what day did you say was that match with Rodney Mack?
July 15th.
All right. I'm going to definitely shoot you a message after that. And we might have you come on the show, just for like 5 or 10 minutes, just to tell us how the match was. Do you mind doing that?
Just to see if I can still talk?
Just to see if you can still talk, yes.
Okay.
Because after I wrestled them, I'm telling you, I was in Waffle House with no shirt on. And like at first the waitress was like, "Sir, you got to put on the shirt," and then she saw my chest and she was like, "Don't worry about it, never mind. It's okay." So
they usually tell me to take my shirt off at Waffle House. I don't know what that is.
Well, I'm an old fat man, okay? Like, don't judge me. Thanks for making me feel old and out of shape. Good job, man.
It's a young baby face, man. You know that.
Oh, there he goes, burying me on my own show. Jeez. Oh. Well, all right, man. Well, look, thank you for being a guest of the show, man. We'll see you down the road, all right?
All right, Will. I appreciate it, man. Take it easy.
No problem. Tell us something and say hello.
All right, we'll do.
Kev.
What's up?
What a great interview.
No, Bryce, I was talking to the producer, man. You can go ahead and hang up.
Already hung up.
All right, Kev.
Yes, sir.
Think, man?
Good interview.
Huh?
Good interview. Good, entertaining.
Yeah, like I said, me and him met in 2012. When I went down to Texas. The first time I actually wrestled in Texas, became really good friends and stuff, man. I realized he was in this area, but until tonight, I didn't realize that we had started at the same time. It's just weird how professional wrestling goes.
You just never know sometimes.
You never do, man. You never know who's like right down the street from you that you don't end up meeting, till 5-10 years later. And then you're like, oh man, you were there the whole time? Like, oh Jesus, we should have been friends forever. Anyway, so before we get into like next week's show, because we have a great show next week, what do you got going on this weekend, Kev?
This weekend, good question. I don't really know yet. I don't know.
Well, next week. Well, I'll tell you what. For the show, actually, hold on. Let me go ahead and get this straight. This Thursday night, obviously, I'll be guest hosting once again for Thursday Night AMP with Abby and Stevie J and the Great Sudoku, and you podcasting, producing the podcast as usual because, you're the freaking man. And then Saturday, I will be in Mooryock, North Carolina for Mega Star Wrestling. I have no idea who I'm wrestling, which is turning out to be par for the case now. But I'm really excited. There's gonna be a lot of my friends are gonna be there, so we're gonna get to hang out and do shit, and then afterwards we'll probably party. And then Sunday is Father's Day, so happy Father's Day, Kev. Happy early Father's Day.
Well, thank you, and a happy Father's Day to you too.
Thank you. Because it's Father's Day, I'm doing what I want to do because it's my day as a father, and so I'll be wrestling. I'll be in Pelham, North Carolina for Pure Pro Wrestling. Really enjoy working that show. I love the promoter, Jimmy Love. Love that guy. We're going to have a great time. I love the crowd of Pelham, North Carolina. They're a very fired up crowd. They still believe in wrestling, to the point of a couple of months ago, a fan got so mad at the heel that he pulled his gun out on them outside and they had to call the cops. So really enjoy that crowd. It's a very, very easy crowd to wrestle and stuff. It's awesome. And then our guest next week for the Wrestling Nerdcast, I'm really excited. It's a former guest. We're bringing back a former guest. Female referee Charlene from OVW will be on the podcast, but she's bringing somebody else with her. She's bringing the promoter. His name is Christian from Evolution Pro Wrestling. It's a new company starting up in the Jefferson, Indiana area. I guess the company will be another company. Evolution Pro will be another company wrestling out of the arena, the world famous arena in Jeffersonville, Indiana, which is basically right across the water from Louisville, Kentucky. I think they have like 3 or 4 wrestling companies that work out of that same building, which is kind of amazing. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they keep it all aligned. But it's like 2 or 3 other, I definitely know of 2 other promotions that run in that same building. One of them being Pro Wrestling Freedom. But now Evolution Pro Wrestling will be running out of the arena in Jeffersonville, Indiana. So we'll have Christian, who is the promoter / booker, and, Charlene, who is a female referee, mainly out of OVW, but she'll be working with Evolution Pro as well. We'll have them on the show next week to talk everything Evolution Pro and their first show.
Yeah, the arena in Jeffersonville, Indiana, Louisville, Kentucky area, it is definitely a wrestling town. Oh, yeah,
without a doubt. And like I said, the other 2 shows that I definitely know about running about are 2 completely different style of shows. One is more hardcore death matches, and the other one is more traditional wrestling. And both of the shows have, some fans go to both shows, some fans have their favorite, but both shows always have a huge crowd. There's always a full house whenever there's wrestling inside the arena, so hopefully Evolution Pro won't be any different.
Indeed.
Anyway, that's it. Like I said, we've already talked about what's going on Thursday night for Thursday Night AMP. We're going to talk about everything New Japan, which is going to be awesome. What else do we have going on this week for the Angry Marks Podcast Network?
Well, as soon as I get done here, I'm going to finish editing our newest episode of The Raw Reaction with Angry Tenzai and Big Vic. We've got Glove Up or Shut Up, which will be going up tomorrow night. There's not going to be an episode of The Impact Implosion with Seth Draken and Mike Poulin this week, so we're going to do a double shot the week after that. And as always, we've got Ed in San Antonio on Friday night as well, so there you go.
See, it's all, man, I'm telling you, this man, I'll tell you what, we got, everything a person could want, whether it's WWE or New Japan or, your favorite indies or MMA. There's a podcast for everybody on this network, man. That's so awesome. Show me the Emmy. What do they give out for podcasts? They got an award show for podcasts?
What was that?
Kev? I said, do they have an award system for podcasts? Because if so, we should definitely get one.
Oh, I'm sure there are. Maybe a Webby or something. We've never been nominated. Why? I'm surprised. Why haven't any of our fans nominated us for any awards? Damn it, what are you slackers doing out there?
Exactly. Start nominating us for awards, especially this show. Me and Kev work very hard on this show.
Well, okay, you might work very hard on this show. I just sit here and I just press the record button. I don't do shit. What are you talking about?
Oh, well. Whatever, Kev.
I intentionally set this whole system up to be as lazy as possible.
You're not supposed to tell people that, Kev. You're not supposed to
I know. I know that. I am blowing the mystique out of the water tonight. Everybody on this network gives me the reputation of being the hardest working producer in podcasting. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't work hard. I work smart. I mean, it's kind of like George South is, his book is "You Don't Work, Daddy, You Wrestle." Yeah, mine is "You Don't Work, Daddy, You Podcast."
You know what? Hey, that sounds like a bestseller.
I don't think I have as many tales as the great George South does.
Well, anyway, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. So, once again, ladies and gentlemen, follow this podcast, download, go to, your Apple iTunes Store, Google Play Store, go on YouTube if you have to. A lot of times, I listen to a lot of podcasts and stuff, especially on this one on YouTube when I'm on the road. Follow me on Facebook, or send me a friend request on Facebook, William Huckabee. I don't have a fan page. I don't need a fan page. I've had too many concussions to remember all these passwords. Forget it. Follow this page, the Wrestling Nerdcast, as we'll be uploading new content very, very soon. Follow me also on Twitter at WA Huckabee. Follow the network AMP Podcast on Twitter as well. And follow me on Instagram, William Huckabee. Like I said, this Saturday I'll be in Moyock, North Carolina for Megastar Wrestling. If you're in the area, come check us out. Father's Day, be in Pelham, North Carolina for Pure Pro Wrestling. So before we leave, I want to say Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, real fathers, stepfathers, mothers who are playing the father's role. Even though you just had Mother's Day, don't be selfish. Grandfathers, whatever the case may be. If you're a father figure, mentors, whatever. If you're a male and you're playing a role in a child's life, Happy Father's Day to you. Thank you for molding the minds of the future. So, on behalf of the hardest producer in wrestling podcast history, Killer Kev, once again, I want to give a shout out to the Prophet, Rick Craig,